big. I have 4 points to make about Jalen Hurts. So I'd like to do them individually because I think they warrant discussion. That's what I like about your show. I think each one of them warrants discussion. I think point number one is, in my view, the debate is over. He is the franchise quarterback for now and the future of this football team. He proved that on the biggest stage on Monday night.
Back this week in Pro Football Week number 3 in the National Football League. Pat Callahan on JAKIB Sports. And I want to welcome in my guest for the next segment, him being a 30-year correspondent analyst for ESPN and a 19-year host of the NFL Matchup Show. That's the great Sal Paolantonio. How you doing, Sal?
Pat, if JAKIB Media is going to buy you these nice sweater vests, I'm going to have to step up my wardrobe considerably.
See, that's Sal. You threw down the gauntlet on me, and I'm telling you, I'm going to answer. All right. So this is my vest here. Now, it's a little slimming. Makes me look a little bit less than 270.
Oh, absolutely. There's no question about that.
All right. So, Sal, we got a lot to talk about as usual, and I want to start with you about the Eagles and the Commanders coming up Sunday, and a lot of talk now about Jalen Hurts. A very good and impressive performance Monday night against Minnesota. So let me start with this. Is the buzz getting too big here relative to what Hurts has accomplished? Or where would you say he is at this point in the tier of NFL quarterbacks?
Not too big, Pat. Definitely not too big. I have 4 points to make about Jalen Hurts. So I'd like to do them individually because I think they warrant discussion. That's what I like about your show. I think each one of them warrants discussion. I think point number one is, in my view, the debate is over. He is the franchise quarterback for now and the future of this football team. He proved that on the biggest stage on Monday night. Your thoughts?
Fair enough. I would say he certainly proved it, and I think it. And I can't help Sal but go back. Now, I want you to do your other 3 points, and then we're going to go back to how Jalen Hurts became a Philadelphia Eagle. But I would say yes to your point. He's the guy.
Okay. So the other 3 points are tangents and support the top one. So the next one is what he proved on Monday night is that he has raised his game so that the dual threat that he has at quarterback can operate out of the pocket effectively and he can win from the pocket. So this is the holy grail of what NFL coaches are looking for right now. They're looking for Patrick Mahomes. They're looking for Josh Allen. Lamar Jackson, frankly, is there sometimes, but not there. Tua in Miami, there sometimes, not there.
Right.
So Jalen Hurts proved that he is a dual threat quarterback who can win from the pocket, and that all of his off-season work has paid off.
Yeah.
Working on his body, working on his footwork, working on his game, and mental acuity. All of it was on display. So that's point number 2.
Right. Well, I don't argue any of those either. The off-season work that he put in was clearly evident. If you think back to the playoff game against Tampa Bay, where he was very hesitant and he seemed completely unaware of what the Buccaneers were doing. He seems to have graduated from that course. Boy, Sal, I can't help but think, too, all those names you mentioned, this guy comes as a second-round draft pick. So somebody deserves some kudos for doing that.
So the first thing that I saw on the first day of training camp, Pat, was his body. He changed his body. I reported about it on SportsCenter, and it's paying off. 1, upper body strength increased. 2, the core slimmed down, giving him more speed, more agility. 3, lower body strength. Then the next thing I noticed, I was pointed out by Nick Sirianni and others, watch the base, the footwork. It is much more consistent. This is what he worked on in California. It is giving him an opportunity to throw the ball more accurately. 84% completion rate. Can't argue with that.
No.
And the ball comes out of his hands with much more velocity. So those specifics are very important. If you're watching Jalen Hurts, watch those specifics. Now, the third point is this. Pat, this is unbelievable. I had to check it. They only have one turnover, Pat. One.
Yeah.
Pat, they have one turnover.
Yeah.
And that's unbelievable.
Yeah.
I mean, my dad used to say to me all the time, Sal, if your number 4 hitter doesn't strike out, you're going to win a lot of World Series. DiMaggio did not strike out.
Yeah.
And then he would say, if your quarterback doesn't turn the ball over, you're not going to lose many games because he touches the ball the most.
That's right.
And he didn't turn the ball over last year. He has started off where he left off last year. So that's point number 3. He's not turning the ball over. Very important point, Pat. Very, very important.
Yep. I agree with that. I mean, you look at, but I mean, he benefited to some extent from what I thought was a very passive Minnesota defense, and Detroit still learning, feeling their way around.
But he didn't turn the ball over last year either.
That's right. Yeah.
Well, point number 4 is I love what he said in the press conference late Monday night, early Tuesday morning. Here's the quote. You ready?
Yeah.
He said it was a hell of a game, but we have a hell of a lot to learn. Now that tells me that's a mindset of we're not going to take the cheese at 2-0. We got a long road to go. And when you have a leader who A, gets it done, and B, understands the real task. Now you got to remember, this guy was left at the altar in the championship game, right?
Yep.
He was left at the altar in what? In the Heisman winning, right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So he's ready to prove that he can do the whole thing.
Oh, yeah. And I think the fact he was a second-round draft pick, as opposed to, as you mentioned, guys like Tua, Josh Allen, Mahomes, they were all first-round, probably top 10 picks. This guy was a second-round pick. Now, let me just ask you this, Sal. And hindsight's always 20/20. But the Eagles picking him when they did a couple of years ago, when Wentz was still in full flower, or at least he was still thought of as the savior or the franchise quarterback. What do you think was the motivation? Do you think the Eagles then recognized that Wentz possibly had already peaked, or do you think the Eagles looked at Hurts and said, this guy's a bigger Lamar Jackson?
So I texted Doug Peterson that night, and we had a phone call. We had a conversation. And I said, what are we doing? And he said, Jalen Hurts is going to help Carson Wentz. He's going to be a change of pace. He's going to be like that guy in New Orleans.
Yeah, Taysom Hill.
Yeah. Well, didn't quite work out that way.
No, luckily for the Eagles, it sure didn't.
But I just love this guy's mindset. I really do.
Now, one comment, Sal, 28 carries in 2 weeks. Now, that translates to like a 238 carry season. That, to me, is a little worrisome. You see the Eagles dialing that back?
Well, I mean, it depends on what defenses are going to do. So after the game on Monday night, I went into the Vikings locker room. I like to go into the losers' locker room because I think that's where you find the real stories. Plus the fact that I wanted to find out what the problem was. I mean, you got Ed Donatel, Mike Pettin, a defense that shut down Aaron Rodgers the week before. What happened, right?
All right.
So I go into the locker room and I track down Ed Donatel, the Vikings defensive coordinator. This is like 1 a.m. And he's like not interested in talking to me, believe me. It was a shock.
Yeah.
It's like somebody getting thrashed in a political campaign. Right. The last person they want to talk to is a political.
You want to make the concession, yeah.
Yeah, let me make the concession speech.
Yeah.
Get on a plane and go home.
Right.
And live for another day.
Right.
So I track him down. I've known him for 20 years. We'd actually seen each other before the game to talk about our grandkids. He's got 5, by the way. I got 4 now. And he's showing me pictures. I'm showing him pictures. He wasn't interested in that conversation either. I said, what happened? He said, we couldn't adjust to their speed. We couldn't adjust to their speed, and they're now getting very advanced in their offense.
How about that?
So you take the speed and the advancing in the offense, that says it all.
Boy, and let's face it, how do you adjust to speed, Sal? I mean, you can either keep up with it or you can't. I mean, I think that's the kind of probably when the realization comes early in a game, like it did for the Vikings, we can't keep up with these guys. Nothing's going to fix that in the next 60 minutes. Yeah.
No, and I love the fact that Shane Steichen, the play caller for the Eagles, went hurry up at times.
Yeah.
Like, okay, let's go, let's go, let's go.
Yep. So now let me
get him on the heels. Yep.
Let me segue then, talking with Sal Paolantonio. Let me segue, Sal, then. And Xander, if you can bring up that other screen graphic, I want to just talk with you, Sal, about quarterbacks. I mean, it's just funny now the way the game is being played. The quarterbacks, the top tier quarterbacks are these run pass threat guys who can damage you, especially inside the 10-yard line. They become like an extra threat. So what I did here, Sal, was a list of quarterbacks in the league, and this is what I'm saying between tier 1, tier 2. I'm fascinated by front offices who think that they can possibly get to a Super Bowl with a Matt Ryan or look at Ryan Tannehill, $38 million cap hit, Sal. I don't know what the Commanders were thinking with Carson Wentz, a $28 million cap hit for a guy whose career record is 45, 41, and 1. When teams do NFL front offices that don't have a Josh Allen, or in this case now even a Jalen Hurts, do they actually tell themselves in the preseason, all right, Derek Carr's our guy, we're going to win a Super Bowl? Or do they know, all right, we're not going to do this, so let's just start building some puzzle pieces until we find a Josh Allen?
Well, like I said, the holy grail is to find a dual threat quarterback who can operate from the pocket. So you got to have that now.
Yeah.
It's no longer just good enough to be 5-step, 7-step.
Tom Brady, yeah. I mean, unless you're Tom Brady, it's not good enough to try and be like Tom Brady.
No, it's not. Yeah. So you got to have the guy who can move, but if he gets stuck in the pocket, can deliver the football. And that's what Jalen did on Monday night.
Right. And that's what Josh Allen did on Monday night, even though I was just amazed at how you mentioned talking to Ed Donatel, how they couldn't keep up with the speed. It's just amazing to me. Tennessee didn't think to themselves, you know what, maybe we should cover that Diggs guy. It's just, I don't know. Who knows how these teams scheme, but that one.
Well, what we're seeing now, Pat, is that teams that invested big in the offseason with guaranteed money in wide receivers, Tyreek Hill, big upside.
Right.
Right?
Right.
Stephon Diggs.
Right. Right.
A.J. Brown.
Yep. Even a Cooper Kupp, the Rams, the Rams are going to have to pay. They did. But you're right. You're right about that. All those guys, even Jacksonville, for God's sake. Jacksonville signs Christian Kirk. They were excoriated, and he's 7th in the league in receiving after 2 weeks. So you're certainly right. It's become a mobile quarterback wide receiver league, and it's amazing how fast that happened. But that is exactly what has happened. All right, Sal, let me hit you with a few Week 3 games. Just give me some quick comments here, okay? We mentioned the Monday night game. Dallas is at the New York Football Giants, who are trying to go 3-0, Sal. Are the Giants going unbeaten this year?
Well, Pat, what was the big problem with the Giants? Big number one problem that they had, turning the football over, right?
Mm-hmm.
They only have 2 turnovers.
Yeah.
Daniel Jones was a turnover machine.
He certainly was.
I like the Giants in that game. What's the line? Let me see. What do we got? Giants are 2.5-point favorites.
Yeah.
I'm definitely giving the 2.5 in that game.
The Sal, the Green Bay Packers are at Tampa Bay. This is a heavyweight fight right now, early in the NFC. The Packers defeated Chicago. That doesn't exactly get you to the front of the room. Coming off another bad Week 1 loss. Meanwhile, Tampa Bay very quietly 2-0, but with a seemingly, Sal, very strong defense. How does Green Bay win this game?
I don't see how they do. Todd Bowles, who I know very, very well, when he trusts his secondary, Pat, he will get after you.
Right.
And his secondary is healthy and playing at a high level. And they got a bunch of sacks. I think they're the only team with double-digit sacks right now.
Yeah. Tampa Bay is a tough out, Sal. They are so I like the Bucs certainly, Sal, in that game too. Just two other quick ones. Baltimore at New England, Sal. I think the Ravens had to be very disappointed the way they played defense in the second half of that game against Miami. And New England, you saw New England last week. Were you surprised by how New England was able to bounce back after that week 1 loss?
I know, because Pittsburgh is so bad.
Yeah.
Their offensive line and their quarterback play are so bad. I don't see how New England beats Baltimore. They beat Trubisky by 3 points.
Yeah.
You know, the Ravens have never won there in the regular season. Never.
No, they won the one playoff game. Yeah.
Never won there in the regular season. They better win this game.
Yeah.
They better win this game.
And then the last one, Sal, I want to hit you with is Miami and Buffalo. Let me see. I want to make sure I have this right. This game is in Miami.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so Buffalo travels down there with that big table wrecking machine they have in Buffalo. Did that momentum, did that just keep rolling along, Sal, with 97-year-old Marv Levy leading the way?
It's important to know why Josh Allen is so good against Miami, because he's so quick with the ball. Miami's defensive coordinator hasn't changed. It's still Josh Boyer. And he does a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
He does a lot of stunts. He's got a lot of late safety movement. You're not going to beat Buffalo with that. They're too good offensively. That quarterback's too good. His offensive line is too good. You have to match up and beat them at the line of scrimmage physically, and you've got to get after Josh Allen. If you don't do that, if you play footsie with this guy,
right?
Pat, what are you doing? Come on.
And Sal, the thing I think about Buffalo is, all teams have a personality. Buffalo's personality is, I think, they want to destroy you. And then when they've done doing that, they want to back the truck up just in case.
And you know why? You know why? I was there in Kansas City when they were denied that game.
Yeah. They
believe that was their Super Bowl.
Yeah.
They believe they should have been in L.A. against the Rams.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they're out. They are on a –
yeah, they're on a mission from God. That's it.
They're on one of those tours that we can't talk about on this family network.
That is right. That's right. So it'll be, but some interesting week 3 games for this early. And I mentioned Sal in my open. There's a couple of teams like the Bengals and the Raiders in particular who might be looking. Well, I don't think the Bengals are looking at 0-3.
Now, do you remember last week I said I call this the year of living dangerously in the NFL?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So there are now 6 2-0 teams.
Right.
That is the fewest in 10 years.
Wow. Yeah. How about that? That's
what you call – what do they call that? They call that – what is that? Parity, baby.
That's right. It is. And any given Sunday is right. When Joe Flacco rises from the crypt and wins again, you never know. So you got to play the games like your old friend Chris Berman says. So, all right, listen, Sal, I appreciate you taking all this time. I always keep you too long. I thank you very much. And where are you this weekend, by the way?
I'm in Foxborough.
Foxborough again. That's a good game. So appreciate you taking the time. Have a good game up there. And
Pat, I got my NFL mug. I'll get you one, Pat.
All right. Yeah, I'll prominently place it right here, Sal. I'll get it on here. Thanks very much, and look forward to talking to you again. All right. All right, that was the great Sal Paolantonio checking in. A lot to digest from that. I'm already late. Xander wants to kill me, but we're going to keep rolling here. I got Tony Cutillo coming up. We're going to talk some fantasy football right after this on This Week in Pro Football.
It's time for This Week in Pro Football, a deep dive into the key issues and marquee matchups in the National Football League. For the next 60 minutes, we invite you to sit back or lean in with host Pat Callahan as we preview the week's Eagles matchup, big games, breaking stories, and all news NFL. It's This Week in Pro Football right now. on JAKIB Media Sports.